Hi, everyone. I'm back. I know it's been a while since I recorded an episode. But life happens and things get busy as we are navigating. And this episode is special because it's one of a series that we're going to create. I am part now of the Heart Collective, which is in Signal Hill, California. And we are a group of practitioners that are trying to change the world and the way things work in the service providing industry. Okay. So that we are able to provide services that are centered and that are truly aligned with supporting our community. And through that, actually through Ellie and Natalie, who were in one of our previous episodes, I happened to meet Maria Lomelli. And she's an amazing person, and she's going to be our guest today. And we are going to have a discussion on balance and returning to balance, because I think a lot of us are finding ourselves in a space where we are discovering that our lives are not necessarily aligned with what we need. So I invite you to join us. Let us know how balance shows up for you in your life and how you are managing balancing everything that is happening in the world. Okay. The chaos, also your personal space, your spirituality, your body, your mind, your community. How are you tending to it? Are you able to stay balanced? So keep this kind of, questions or thoughts in mind as you're listening, and let us know what you think. Okay, so I'm going to introduce Maria Lomelli. She is the founder of Over Soul Embodiment, and she supports people with reconnecting with their true nature, restoring their true balance through healing, self-inquiry, and expanded awareness. She blends work with QHHT, Reiki, shamanic healing, intuitive guidance, and coaching, which is grounded in years of personal and professional experience. She holds space for others to access their inner wisdom, find harmony, and live with presence and purpose. Right. And she, like I said, is one of our practitioners at the Heart Collective. Welcome to this beautiful conversation, and please join in the comments. Enjoy. Hi, everyone. Before we begin today's episode, I want to remind you that the content shared here is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional mental health care. Also, that some of what we'll talk about may feel heavy or bring up strong emotions. So please take your time with it, breathe, and listen only as it feels right for you. You can pause, take a break, or step away if you need to. And if you ever feel overwhelmed, remember that you're not alone. And here in the US, you can call or text 988 anytime, day or night, or visit 988lifeline.org for free confidential support. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, so let's talk about balance. Gosh, what does balance mean to you? What does balance mean to me?
Yeah, balance is a tricky one because it's a little bit of everything, right? So for me, I stick to the four pillars, right? So balance is like, how is my life in my spirit? How is my life in my heart, in my feelings, in my emotions? How is my heart in my head? You know, with my thoughts, and then my body. How does my body feel? And then, of course, community, right? How am I showing up out in the world with everyone? And when I am content, usually all the four are taken care of. So for me, balance is being able to be present fully in myself while being genuinely myself. So, and that sounds like a lot of fluff. Like, what does that mean? What does that look like? But it's, I think it looks for me like on the outside, it is Even though the world is falling apart, or even though there's chaos around me, I'm still able to keep my stillness, and I'm able to kind of observe, but I don't absorb it. Um, and I'm able to just sort of process it, right? Definitely feel the emotions, because emotions come, right? But I'm able to feel them and sit with them and then let them flow through. And then I'm able to still be present within myself and not get lost, right, in the drama or whatever's happening. But yeah,
Yeah, balance is, I mean,
I mean,
there's
there's a
so
lot.
much. There's so much.
And then we have the masculine and the feminine, right? So that's also how am I balancing those? So, but what about you?
Yeah. So balance to me has become probably the most important journey of my life. Creating balance has really shown up as like realizing that it's important to have a relationship with myself. It's
Mhm.
important for me to be present to myself, to what's true for me, to what's a yes, to what's a no, to what feels like in my body, like like opening versus contraction, to feel myself um, be my most authentic self in any situation or around any group of people, and including, you know, the people that we grew up with in life, right? Like parents and
Yes.
siblings and things that we may have learned to be a certain type of way. Um, so balance to me has resulted in, or it is showing up now, like noticing all the ways in which I would leave my center, leave my own presence in order to mold myself to become someone different, you know, performing or becoming small if I was in the presence of an energy of aggression, or all these variety of different expressions from the external that felt like would change the way that I would show up and that I would be present with myself. So it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot of things, you know, that are involved in sort of like my relationship with balance now, my relationship with myself. And definitely the feminine and the masculine, like what was my relationship with that, you know, when I started this journey versus what it is now. It is so different. And all of this comes through awareness. Like that's like the first thing, you know, is even just creating awareness around like, am I feeling balance? Am I moving in balance? Am I creating in balance? Are my relationships in balance? Are there are they unequal in reciprocity? You know, am I being someone's crutch? Am I kind of being the one that's, you know, taking more
Yes.
than I'm receiving? So there's so many areas of life where when we create the intention of having awareness and we then make the choice to change the behavior so that we can create awareness, we can create balance, gosh, that just changes our whole life experience.
So when did you start your journey, when you recognize, okay, I need to shift, I need to do something different, right?
Mm-mm.
Because my life is not balanced.
Yeah.
Because, I think we're at a place where we kind of are knowing ourselves a little bit more, but we didn't start there. We were busy in
Mm-hmm.
the grind. I know I was busy in the
Mm-hmm.
grind, right? Of being a mom, of being, having my career, of having my business, of also being a daughter, and all the responsibilities that come with being a woman, right? Um, that you don't really stop to think, well, am I really balanced? Because you're just surviving at this point.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you that I have been sort of I've had awareness even before I had that awakening. I had awareness since a small child, but I definitely was not balanced. I thought I was, you know, the way that I would work, or the way that I would live life was,
Mhm.
what's the problem? Who needs help? I got the solution. And in my idea of balance, I would create kind of like, you know, like a screen on your computer and you have all these tabs open.
Yep.
Like I had these tabs open and I was like, okay, that's that person, that's this situation, that's that. Like, okay, I don't have the solution for that right now, but they're there and I know that they're there. And then somehow like I would get some information or some wisdom, like, okay, that's how you can take care of that. That's how you can take care of that. And then
Mhm.
that was my idea of balance.
You were
You
keeping
know,
the balance. You were the
I
one.
was the
You were the
one.
fixer,
Yes,
and you were
I
the
was
one.
controlling all of these things so that I
Yes.
could have a sense some type of balance.
External balance, which I think is the
Exactly.
difference, right? I think
Very different.
we're learning how to balance ourselves, but at the beginning, it's very much externalized. Like, how do I keep my environment safe?
Yeah.
And how do I keep everyone afloat?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. And so I was all about that. Right. And I was really good at it, actually. And so people would come to me, and I was like, what's the problem? What's going on? I got the solution. And until there came a point where that just couldn't continue. Right. And then that's when I had this awakening into like, whoa, what's going on with my life? What am I doing? I just couldn't continue. And that happened for me at the end of 2012.
Okay.
At the end of 2012, I was working as a clinical research monitor. I was traveling all over the country. I was away from home probably 4 days out of the week, traveling sometimes, all across the country, and then finally flying back home on Fridays. And so I did that for a long time, more than 10 years. And right before I had the shift, I was flying back from a week of being away. I ended up in Rhode Island in my last trip, and I was now flying back home. And I was on the plane, and I was just feeling so not myself. And I remember thinking, is this success? Like, is this how it feels to do it, to get it, and I felt really sad. I felt sad, and I felt like I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I miss my family. And so I said to myself, and I think I have it with my clients. I see this often. It changes when we finally come to this point and we choose something different. And then that sets the ball rolling for change. And so on that flight, I said to myself, and I said to the universe, like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to continue to live like this. I want to live like a life where I feel connection to my loved ones, connection to what I'm doing, And so that just opened up. Yeah. And things started to change in my external world. And then I started to meditate. My job started to slow down. It slowed down in the traveling, but they still kept paying me. Like, the universe just arranged things so that I would create the space to go inward.
Okay. But it took that you making that decision, the observation, because you had to see it, right? You had to see it, and then ask for it. Like, I don't want this anymore. Make that choice, because it is a choice, right? That we have to make. You could have very easily keep staying there and keep traveling back and forth, and because maybe that was the definition of success you had, right? And it's like, this is what it is. And it's like, yeah, but that's not fun.
It was probably until you're like, wait a minute. No, it's not actually.
I'm not enjoying this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that 2012 has been a while now. So it's been now 14 years. So that's been a journey. I think for me was definitely 2020 sort of where kind of the shift came, where we had to slow down, right? And you start noticing, oh my God, I was crazy. What was I doing? Like, traveling back and forth, dropping off the kids, going to my part-times, because even though they're part-times, they still take time, right? But I had like 2 part-time jobs, because I was still mommy, right? I was mommy and I was career woman. And it was like, I had to go home and make dinner, or, pick up the kids. And then I go back to work or work on the weekends. And it's just crazy. But it forced us. 2020 forced us to slow down, right? Like, COVID came and we were all at home, and it's like, wow, this feels kind of nice to not have to go nowhere. It definitely was isolating. It had its down part, but it was, I think, the catalyst to be able to give me a little flash of like, yeah, this is interesting. What is happening? Right. And then, of course, highlighting other areas of my life, that I was like, oh, yeah, this is not going well. I don't like that. And also where I created the business, right? Because that also gave me the opportunity. So 2021, I was like, I need to do something different. I don't want to be in this job that I am, I know that I have a different purpose, and this is not it. Because I felt that I needed to teach, right? It's still in the same realm. So I'm a therapist, but I need to share information with people. And that's sort of where it came. And the whole business idea was like a download. Like, it came to me even before 2020. I was sitting with my son, basketball practice, right? And stillness. It's hard to find stillness. But that's when it came. And the whole thing came. This is going to be the name. This is what the website's going to look like. Like I saw everything, and wrote it down in my little paper. I was like, oh my God, slow down. Like this is a lot. But I was in a roll and just writing it. But that sat there in the back burner for like a few years. And then till 2020, right? And then it's like, oh, you have some time. I don't want to be in this job anymore. I can go ahead and take care of some of this stuff. And Brazilian social work got created, right? It came out of that need too, that I saw that my lane is trauma, right? So for me, trauma is sort of what got me into like this lane. But it was looking at the trauma and how our families were not getting what they needed because people were not trauma informed. So they were being very dismissive of their needs or even judgmental over their needs, and they were not getting what they needed, right? When they were going for help. And I wanted to train the world. The world needs to know about this, right? Because we need to be kinder to each other, basically, right? And our families need support. So that's kind of how that came. And then from then on, right, like we went back to work, everybody kind of came back. But a lot of things sort of happened in my life that were like light. It was the light that lit. That's the one that lit up sort of like what areas of my life I needed to kind of focus on or look at, kind of like you, right? My mom got sick. And I didn't have to, but it was a choice, right? We took care of her, my sister and I, because she needed 24-hour care. Like, she couldn't do anything. She was paralyzed from the neck down. So that also showed me like, oh my God. But it was like a lot of the putting fires, right? So again, I was the rescuer, right? Like, here we go, right? That's my role. We got to take care of business. We got to do this and let's just do it. But it took a toll, it did take a toll on my family because my kids were still younger. I was away from home, right? But it showed me okay, you're doing it again, right? You're doing it again. You're sacrificing yourself. And it was a lot because it was exhausting. So that was one of them. And then it kind of, from there, it sort of came about, of looking. But again, it's like life, I think, gives us highlights of like, here you go. This is what's happening. Is this what you want to do? And that sort of brings us to the question of like, maybe I don't want to do this. And that I think is when we start looking at this is not balance, right? My life is missing something. My life is missing something that I'm not giving it. And I need to focus on something different. And that different thing is us, right? Like, to find my balance, to find the balance, he was not out there fixing everybody else, right? But he was now working on myself. And it's giving myself the love and the care and the time and the patience that I had for everybody else as I was putting everybody else's fires, including at work, right? Okay. Yeah. So it was that I think that those little highlights make us see, illuminate for us kind of where we need to focus. And then we have to make a choice, right? Do I continue this route? Or do I pause and see kind of where life is needing me to go, or to reflect and to give that love and care for us, for ourselves, right? Because that's my other epiphany that I got was like, it's all about self-care. I had my little crack up in the car because I was like, oh my God, you're funny. Like, the answer is self-care. Like, are you kidding me this whole time, right? I needed to just focus on me. But it seems as selfish, right, when we do that. So that's the other piece that comes about. It's like that I think stops a lot of people too, because it's like, oh, well, what are they going to say, if I take time for me? Or people start complaining, like, in all honesty, right? Because they're not used to that us.
Yeah, absolutely. What I'm hearing you say and what I said too is like, so there's a pattern here. There's sort of like a process, right? And it's like getting to that point where it's a no, like you just cannot continue. And then creating the stillness, creating the pause, to just self-reflect and to look at what's going on with you, what's going on in your relationship and your surroundings, and then create awareness. So that keeps coming with you. That awareness keeps growing. The attention to yourself, to your relationships, to your surroundings keeps growing. And then there's at some point, the change. It's a choice.
Yeah.
Every step of the way is a choice. But it seems like when you have these things going, it's almost like autopilot, because now you have said yes. You have said yes to return back to your balance.
Yeah.
And now the universe will support you. And it will, because you have awareness, it will show you, is this truly in alignment? Is this truly how you want to continue with this relationship? Are you true? I mean, it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
It'll show you all the aspects of life in your relationship with yourself and with everything else and everyone else where there isn't balance. It takes care of itself, actually. And then along the way, we come across, these experiences where we realize, like, oh, wow, I didn't realize how much I was like codependent, in these patterns that I'm now seeing are not balanced. They're creating an imbalance in myself. They're creating an imbalance in the other person. There's a dynamic here. Jobs, all of the situations, all of the experiences that we have are now being highlighted. There's like the light is shining on them. And now it's like, whoa, you can't unsee.
Yeah.
You can't unfeel.
Can't. And it gets, I think, louder, right? It gets louder, and your body tells you too, because your body, if you're not listening to what is being put in front of you, right, with all that, oh, do you see this? Do you see this? Do you see this? Do you see that? What are you going to do about that, right? And with the self-care comes boundaries. So you definitely have to learn how to set that up, right? But it's tricky because at the beginning, you're sort of don't know, right? You're navigating sort of blind of like, I don't know what to do here. Like, this is different. And it does set you up in that space of not knowing. And it's a trial and error. You got to try and see what happens, right? I'm going to set this boundary. Let's see what happens. How do people respond, right? How do I respond to this? Until you kind of get used to setting it and knowing, like, what? It kind of feels good. But the feeling good part at first is you don't quite get it because it feels weird, right? It's different.
It does. It feels very different, and it feels scary, and it feels like something is going to die, whether it's the older version of yourself. And there is that. There is a rebirth, and there's a death and a rebirth and a death and a rebirth. It feels like the relationships are going to end. The fear oftentimes feels extreme or, pretty strong, but it's always that it's actually okay. It's just you're just going to move into a different version, a greater, more balanced version of yourself. And every time you get to make that choice, you're also going to do the same thing with your relationships. Yes, the old version of that relationship is going to die, but what you now have the ability to bring forward is a more balanced version of that relationship. So it takes a lot of courage, to move through these phases that we go through in doing what it takes to bring balance to all of these different areas of life. And and at first, when you make those changes, when you decide to have the courage to not continue to engage in the old way in the particular dynamic, when you decide to bring a more authentic version of yourself forward and communicate in that way, it throws the other people off. It can throw things off, and that's okay. You have to be willing to see it through, and it does readjust. It will readjust, often more often than not, especially in your closest relationships. It might take a little while, but, we love each other. We in our families, we love each other.
Yeah. And that one, let's talk about that, because I think that was really a shift, right? Like with my parents, they're a core, right? And it was really hard to, I don't want to say disconnect, because it's not a disconnect. It's a boundary setting, right? You are setting the boundaries where, again, I'm not the rescuer. I'm letting everybody kind of hold their own bag. This is your bag. This is yours. This is yours. And you have choices to make, right? Just like I make choices, you can also make choices. And getting to that place of not feeling guilty, because at the beginning that was really hard, not feeling guilty when I wasn't fixing stuff for them. And not arguing when they were saying no, and also listening, right? Because that was part of my thing. If they are saying, for example, they don't need help, okay, well, they are saying they don't need help. I'm going to respect that, right? I don't need to go in and say, no, you really do need help, and this is what we're going to do, right? Which that would have been the old me. Like, no, let's just take care of this right now. But that was heavy, and that was weighing on me, right? And that's also part of the codependency that you're talking about, because here I am, they have an issue. I am not trusting them with their own sovereignty, with their own decision making and their own adulthood, right? That they are able to make choices for themselves, that I don't need to make it for them. And I don't need to take on that load when I already have a heavy load over here waiting for me that I need to worry about. So that was definitely tricky to navigate at the beginning, to let them, like it's my power, right? But to allow myself, I'm going to rephrase it, to allow myself to not go and fix it, right? And to respect their word of what they're saying. We're okay. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
And trusting that when it's not okay, obviously we're going to know, right? So then we're going to have to make other choices. But respecting that space and also allowing myself to now jump in there. I don't need to jump in the pool of mess when it's not my mess, right? And when I'm being asked to not jump in the pool of mess. So, but it comes with, again, the role of daughter and feeling that sense of responsibility, right? That I had since forever, right? That I need to look after my parents. I need to be a good daughter. And being a good daughter means I need to show up for them. I need to fix stuff. But
yeah.
no, I don't, right?
Yeah.
But it is hard to not feel guilty when you don't go see them, right? Or, and then they also navigating that change, because that would come like, oh, well, what are you doing? Oh, okay. And the little boys, right? That, like, why aren't you here? Like, or why didn't you come today? So having that space and allowing myself to have that space was something that was difficult at first, to not feel guilty about it. I'm okay now. Like I accept, like, because again, it's part of the observation, right? You see yourself, what are you doing? And you have your own checker. You're your own checker now. Like, hey, what are you doing? Where are you going? You don't want to go? You don't have to go, right? Why are you going? And the questions sort of come, right? And you're like, oh, you're right. I don't need to go. I don't really want to, so I'm just going to rest instead, because that's really what my body wants to do right now. And honoring that. But being able to do that at the beginning is very hard, to set those boundaries.
It's very hard. And especially in retrospect, we can see like, whoa, we were all entangled.
Yeah.
We were all entangled in each other's business. And that is, there's pain that comes with that.
Yeah, it's a loss.
There's pain that comes with that. And so it's normal. It's part of the process. I think once we do it a couple of times, we can sort of see that there is a process. And we can count on that process the next time something else happens that feels like it's rocking our world. And one thing that's really cool here that we're talking about is that we're really moving into another level of love and another level of honoring. And that's like by seeing people for who they truly are, and no longer collaborating with these stories of inability or lack of capacity or some sort of thing that would keep them from being their highest expression. And us too, being our highest expression. And so this is just another form of love that is allowing us all to evolve and to transform into the next version of ourselves. And when things go wrong, the thing is that part of the observation and the awareness that we have and the patterns that we notice is that there's even the things that we feel went wrong, they're part of it. They offer so much for us to work through. They let us know, okay, I actually wasn't listening to my body, or it didn't quite feel right, or now I know. It's changing the perspective that we have, that everything is really truly working for us, even if the result doesn't seem to be favorable. Right? Because what's really happening, we're giving it to God.
Mm-hmm.
We're recognizing that there's a power here greater than us that can see and feel all of the details that we thought we used to have to control in order to be safe.
Yeah. That surrender. That surrender was another one, right? Because we're such control freaks. It's like, oh, but I don't have control of it. I need to. No. The surrender was hard to have that trust. Again, because I think it's that sense of safety when I'm very hyper independent all my life, right? There's definitely trauma in my childhood. So I just learned to take care of myself. And it's like, well, no, I need to have safety. I need to know what's happening. I need to know, how this is going to be handled, like having control over everything. But in all reality, we don't have control over anything, right? Things just sort of are going to flow the way they're going to flow. But then giving it to God, giving it to the universe, whatever you subscribe to, right? Like for me, it's like, okay, surrender to the universe. I give it to you. And it's so liberating.
Mm-hmm.
Like once you do that, oh my God, it's like, oh my God, I was carrying all that. I didn't need to all that time. Because again, it's sort of an illusion that we have. We have it, but it seems like, oh, this is the way it works. And when you have that surrender to just, I let it go, let it be, right? It's gonna be. It's so easy because now you don't have to be the fixer. You don't have to be the one to know it all. You don't have to be the one to, have it together. It's just you're just you and you're just moving along life. And when people ask, earlier we were talking and it's like when people ask like, oh well, you look so happy or even I'm like, yeah, well, it's that surrender, right? It is that surrender that you are no longer carrying this weight of I am the one that needs to control everything. It's like, I leave it alone. Obviously, we move through the world, we make decisions, we make choices, and we have to live with those, right? The consequences of those. But it's no longer that weight of, I need to control it. It's like, no, I surrender the control and I trust. And that trust is hard, right? It's hard when you're broke and you're like, oh my God, well, where's the money going to come from? Or, well, is this really going to get fixed? Or when people are sick, right? That surrender too of like, are they going to get better? And it's like, well, I don't know, but I can't do nothing about that, right? That's just going to be part of whatever is going to happen, part of life, part of the process. They know. And I do believe now in divine timing, which is something that it's part of the surrender, right? When you surrender, now you believe in divine timing. Things will happen when they need to happen. And you're not questioning so much anymore. Why me? Why doesn't this happen to me? Which I think a lot of people get stuck and it does throw us off balance because then we're focused again on the outside and not on ourselves, right? We're looking at everybody else or what are they doing? Where are they at? And this is part of the question you had in the plane, right? Like, oh, it's a success, um, because we're still looking for outside validation and outside whatever, but when we bring it back to ourselves, it's so powerful because now we know, right, that when we surrender it, things will align and they do. And that's the magic, right? That's the magic. I think it's so beautiful. Once you start seeing how things are aligning, you see the synchronicities. It's like, okay, I see that. Okay, this is opening up. Okay, the door is opening up. Even us meeting, right? Through part of my stuff is like through the spiritual awakening, but also just through my journey of life, I ended up meeting Ellie, um, and the rest of the girls through Cynthia, right, who I did a podcast with. So we ended up together, but I didn't have this group of friends. I didn't have my tribe, where I can talk about spirituality, where I can talk about what's happening, where I can just talk about stuff like this. But then you guys came along, right? Here we are now recording this,
Yeah.
So life will flow, like you said, when you are ready, when you make the choice, this is what I want, right? I don't want this. And even if we don't know sometimes what we want, but we know we don't want that, right? Whatever it is. And we say, I don't want that. That is not for me. I don't know what I want, but definitely not that. Things start kind of shifting because we already made the decision, right? And we gave permission, sort of, right, to the universe to open up the doors for us. And the doors open. So that trust is beautiful, but it is hard to take the leap into the surrender. How did you get there?
So this is an ongoing journey, and I don't know. I think it'll be probably a journey, maybe my entire life. I'm not sure. I mean, I feel more balanced than ever, right? Because we've been on this journey, and there's everything. We know so much more now about ourselves, and how to recognize how our nervous system feels. But part of what we're talking here is the human condition, the human experience, and where does it come from? Although we have had the experiences of the intricacies of our own upbringing and our relationships and how that turned out for us, it's coming from long ago, and it's coming from a survival consciousness, that was very relevant for a long time. And we are moving out of survival consciousness. And so in part of that moving, we are having to confront all of the fears, all of the anger, all of the emotions that were had as part of that survival consciousness, not even just with us. We are clearing it, and we are confronting it for those who couldn't before us, that are part of our lineage, as well as those aspects of ourselves that are in other lifetimes that were also part of that survival consciousness. So it does take a lot of courage, and it takes courage, and it also takes making that initial choice, aligning with choosing to have awareness, and then allowing higher consciousness to come in. Okay. Because I feel like that part of like allowing higher consciousness to come in is absolutely necessary. It's remembering that we are souls, that we are eternal, that the divine is really truly moving through us and around us and supporting us. And so that's what helps the fear. That's what helps the trust, is that we are reconnecting with that truth that is our truth for all of us. And that truth guides us. That truth gives us the power that we need, the strength that we need to make those choices. And part of that journey is what happens is that by bringing balance into our lives and by making these constant choices, is that we start to magnetize experiences and others that are like us. And so now we're like, oh, we're not crazy. Oh, you're going through this too. Like, oh, so now there's a community, and there's people that are going through this all over the world. And we are blessed. I share with you, the gratitude also for having a community so close to us now of individuals, and a lot of women who are walking this walk. And so we are moving from the survival consciousness. We are evolving into freedom from fear, freedom from separation, and moving into what could we create? Once we've handled, some of these old ways of being, and therefore like that was our baseline. And so that's what we kept creating in different versions, except we've exhausted all the versions. And so now we are getting ready to create from a different baseline, a baseline where we really remember that we are safe, that we are loved, and that we can create from joy.
Creating from joy, that's beautiful. And I think that's part of the freedom, right? And creating from joy comes from the work of, again, going introspectively and having the self-awareness, because I think that's the key of knowing that you are loved too, that we need to love ourselves also. Like I said, not everybody else too, but we are all one anyway. So by loving ourselves, we are sharing love with everyone else. And I forgot where I was going with this, but anyways, it is so beautiful that, because we're talking about the consciousness and having that connection, and that is sort of what it is. I know where I was going. And I think for my grandma, she had this deep faith, right? This deep faith in God, and that, she had the surrender already built in. And I think it happens a lot with our older generation, right? That they were very faithful to, for her, it was San Antonio, that was her santo, Saint Anthony. So she was just very faithful, and she knew, like, doesn't matter, we don't have money, so what? Like, the money will come, right? And she will pray and do her ofrendas, to San Antonio, and just trust that will be resolved. This unwavering faith. So I think for the older generation, it looked like faith. The surrender was definitely based on their faith towards their santo, their God, whoever. But for us, I think now we're finding ourselves, it's like the surrender, yes, it's still to God, it's still to the universe, not necessarily tied to the church, but it is more at a personal level, I think, of spirituality and having the experience of having that connection, having the synchronicities, right? Because that's what shows you, yes, I'm in the right path. Or yes, I know you're here. Even if I may not see you, right? But I know there's things that are happening that are aligning. And that is sort of what fortifies, I think, the surrender to kind of keep you along. Like, yes, you are in the right track. Keep going. But the surrender is beautiful. It's very liberating. The freedom is also scary because you don't know where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
even though it's very liberating, it's like, okay, what now? Like, where do we go? Because we truly are sort of forging the path, you
Yes,
know?
we are.
This our moms were not here. Our grandmothers weren't sitting here making podcasts, you know, and having the freedom to do so, right? They had to do other things. Um, so we are sort of creating this newness, new way of being connected within ourselves, but also being connected to source, you know, and Mother Earth, right? Because we are the conduit, you know, with, between the earth and also the sky. So being able to have this connectedness and being able to talk about it, number one, right? Because before we can talk about it, um, and then talk about it with other people so that because I think a lot of us are sort of in the same wave of awakening and of reconnecting with ourselves so that we can then be, you know, connected, right? Everywhere. And that's the balance, is being able to be comfortable in your own skin, in your own thoughts, in your own person, in your own emotions. And at the same time, right, being able to be in the world, uh, and continue to be kind, right, in spite of whatever is happening, but continue to share love so that we can all then be truly aligned with one, right? So that we can be one.
Yeah, it's so interesting because our lives and the experiences that we have and just the human experience is so intricate. It has so many different branches, right? But there's things that we're saying that are kind of like leading to the same thing. And it's when you're cultivating the relationship with yourself, like coming back home to your most authentic self, automatically aligns you with the divine. It automatically aligns you with the unity field, the field where we are all one. And therefore the synchronicity happens. And what's happening is you're also creating coherence, right, between what you think, what you feel, how you act, who you be. Like all of these things are lining up, and so there's like a clear signal that is now coming through the expression that is you, and you are being met by a clear signal as well. So all of this happens, you know, as we walk the path of returning to balance. You know, it's beautiful. And I am so excited to help to continue to remember more of what this means, for Maria to remember more of what it means to walk in this balance. And it is fun just creating anything from that space. But I know you do too, enjoy part of that creation being sharing with others, you know, our journey, and helping others through sharing remember that they are remembering, that they're remembering something that had been forgotten for a long time. And they get to experience what it's like to remember, and then to then pass it on, and then have a different experience in life and with the next generations.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful when you're able to share with others, you know, like I was at a dentist appointment and then, you know, conversation stroke, and then here we are, right? Like, who thinks like, oh, it's going to be with the dentist office? But it is, right? Sometimes you are just talking about, I don't even know why we're talking about menopause. And somehow, right, it comes out into somebody sharing about their own experience with now being reawakened into their gifts, right? And you know, we all are gifted in our own way, right? We all have our own I want to call him gifts, but I'm going to call him gifts because I can't find another word right now. Um, our own connection, our own ways of connecting to source, right? Connecting to the universe, connecting with God. And for her, it was vision. So she starts saying like, yeah, with menopause, I started having visions. And I was like, oh, how fascinating, right? Me too. Um, and we were able to sort of connect in that. And she felt, I could tell, like, she's just like, was able to like, oh my God, Okay, that happened to you too. Like, and having that sense of validation of I'm not crazy, right? Like I said, I'm not crazy. What's happening? From somebody else that's going through it. And I think the point of us having these conversations here and putting them out there is that because there's a lot of people I think that are going through the same process of finding themselves, right? Of finding that connection or rediscovering and reconnecting with their own, it's in our DNA, right? Our own gifts or our own capacities. Maybe that's a better word. Our own capacities to see things in a different light that maybe we didn't see before, or maybe we have all our lives, but we just were not looking at it in that way, right? So having these conversations, I think, is very meaningful, and I'm looking forward to having more because there's so much to unpack. Like we said, so much stuff. I can't wait to go listen again. I'm like, oh my God, we got to talk more about this and more about this.
Yes,
because there's so many things, and balance is such a huge, complicated, and at the same time simple, right? But it is such a big topic that we can definitely expand. And
we definitely can. I wanted to share sort of like what a day might look like,
in your balance
now for me, as it is my intention and it's at the forefront of my experience, my relationship with myself and how am I feeling. So like say in the morning, when I wake up and I just realize that I'm in my body again. I start the morning by breathing into my body. And I like mantras. So I say, I am fully present here in my body now. I am fully present here in my body now. And I feel myself grounding into my body. And I feel that in the way that I am speaking to myself, I'm speaking to myself with love. I'm speaking myself like as a welcoming home, and I'm mindful about getting up, how I do my bed. This is not control. This is just, I feel like the love that we come home to becomes an extension of everything that we do. So I have gratitude for my bed and I'm not thinking about it anymore. I fold my blanket, I put it away, and I go and I walk for 45 minutes. And as I'm getting myself ready, I'm just very present with myself. And I am conscious of like putting my pants on. The way you would care for a loved one, the way you would care for your child, I am like that with myself in the morning. And that automatically feels like I am the most present with myself and the most balanced in my state of being. So I'm setting myself up to sort of start my day that way. I do my walk. As I'm walking in that balance with myself, I start to just get downloads. I start to just get wisdom, like, oh, this is happening because of that. Like, oh, it would be a great idea to do this or that, like offering classes or workshops or talks or whatever. That just naturally comes. But I'm also walking and I am aware of the trees and the flowers and everything around me having consciousness. So I am present to that. And it feels like there's an exchange. And so like that runs through my whole day. Whenever something happens and there's a trigger, I am present with myself and I allow myself to feel it. But as I am present with it, I get to see like really the deeper story or what is there to unfold and what is there for me. So instead of giving my energy or my power away now to what would have been a cycle, a repetitive cycle where somebody did something to me or, I now process it and the energy stays here with me. So this is sort of like how my days now, I'm able to be present with myself and be in balance with myself. And there's always growth, right? There's always like a new,
I think we learn. Yes, because we learn as we go, right? Like we said, like we're learning as we go. There wasn't a handbook. This is the way you have to do it,
Oh, no.
And everybody's different because we all have different needs, and different times, right? That we have to do stuff. But yeah, and as you're saying, I'm very mindful of this. Like for me, and again, it goes back to the self-care and the self-love. So for me in the mornings, I sort of do similar. Like after I shower, like I told you, I make my own product now. So I have my own body oil that I make, and I take my time and I thank my body. Thank you, feet, for carrying me yesterday, and thank you for carrying me all the way here today. You're beautiful, my lonjas, right? So I go over my belly. You're so beautiful. Thank you so much, for carrying my babies. And I give gratitude to my body as I'm doing this. And I notice that there's a difference in the way that I feel too. I'm not as self-conscious as I was before. And now I'm fixing my loquita, right? Um, but I'm not, I don't really care as much anymore. It's like, it's because it's beautiful. I think it has taken me all the way up to here now, and how amazing it is that it's taking all the beatings, right? All the negative self-talk of like, que gorda, and, all the different things, right? That we say to ourselves or that other people have told us that we carry with us, all the body shaming that's been there all my life. So it needs love. My body needs love and needs this reconnection. So it's setting again myself up for me to love myself in that way. So I start with my body, but I also in the morning, right before I get up, I start giving gratitude. There's a little like vine that grows next to my window. So I'm like, thank you for looking at, for cleaning my air today, as I'm still laying in bed. And I give gratitude and I already start setting up like, okay, what am I going to do today? This is my day's going to be great, and this sense of positivity that I'm already putting out there, right? That I don't know what's going to happen today because I don't know, right? The day is going to flow how it's going to flow, but I'm already setting myself up in that no matter what, right? We're staying within our bodies and we're staying in ourselves. It's going to be great. It's going to be all right. And it's going to be fun because I want things to be fun. I'm like, it's going to be a fun day today and it's going to be great. And then we go out the door. But it is sort of having those rituals, I think, and that sort of routine that is different because that didn't happen before. It was just like, oh my gosh, just gotta get out of here, quick shower, get kids ready, whatever. And then you get out. There's no stillness, right? So this goes back in taking care of ourselves and taking that time is part of the stillness that is new. Right?
Yes.
That was not there, that we kind of have to give to ourselves. It's part of the choices, little choices that you're making every day, because there's big choices too, but these are little choices, little changes that we start making that start shifting us in that direction, right? Towards the balance. And it is those little rituals that we have in the morning, at nighttime, that bring us back to ourselves and that help us keep anchored, right? When we can just, come out when there's a conflict or we're driving and somebody's crazy, whatever it is. We are staying present and we're not losing our cool, right? Like before I used to be like pretty, the fire. But now the fire sort of is controlled. It's a controlled fire and it's used for something different. It's used for creating, right? So the fire is used for creating. But it is a conscious decision and also actions. You have to take actions, little actions, right? Take us to the bigger ones, to start loving on you, on ourselves. And when you start doing that, it's everybody else sees it because I noticed that too. Like people are like, what are you doing? You look different. I'm like, I'm doing nothing. Like I haven't done anything. You cut your hair? No, but people start noticing because your face also start looking more relaxed. Right. You start like smiling more, like, oh my God, I have to go here, and because we don't even notice that we're doing that. But because we're just stressed out all the time. But when you have the surrender, right? And when you are starting to do these little tiny things that go a long way, you start setting it up. Your brain starts telling you nicer things as opposed to the abusive things we say to ourselves, right? And the judgmental things kind of start quieting down because we are quieting down ourselves. It's like, nope, I am not that. I am beautiful. I'm whatever, right? I am conscious. I am loving. You start giving yourself the honey, right? To yourself. And that is, I think, is the shift also because it's all connected, but it's the mind and body shift that we have to make to start in the balance. But yeah.
Yeah. So this has been a great talk. And I know that we're going to put together a panel discussion. Yeah. Tell us about that.
So this whole project, right, as we are creating and co-creating together, we are wanting to share more about this topic because I think that is also what is going to get us to a place where we are feeling more balanced and more genuinely ourselves. Okay. So we are going to put together a panel, and And this is going to be like a series. So we're going to do a series of talks. And sometimes it might be a panel, some might be just a couple people. And we're going to invite different people to be able to talk about this. How do they find balance? What does balance look like for them? What are some of the practices maybe that they have implemented that has helped them get there? What does it look like in real life, right? When we are on balance and when we are balanced, so that we are able to compare and find a way that works for people, that maybe people can apply, like I said, the little baby steps that we have to take so they can start applying it in their daily life. So I'm excited to share that with everyone. I think it's going to be an amazing discussion, and we will have panel, and eventually I do want to have a live audience because I want you guys here so that you can chime in, and also what are some of your experiences and what are some of the questions you have. So stay tuned. We're going to have a good time in this discussion.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Marilyn.
And just chit-chatting, right? Chit-chatting about this beautiful topic of balance and what does it look like in our lives. Thank you, everyone.